That's right. Whitelist stuff starting now. Yay!
Who was the worst person you've dealt with in the office? Oh God, I could name some. Oh boy. Well, do you know, I think one of the worst people that I've ever dealt with, though, it was actually a director, a female director, who was, to quote somebody earlier, batshit crazy. Just absolutely, she was in a position where her job had changed, and it had changed away from the knowledge that she had. So the area she was working in wasn't something she knew, and she was trying to bluff it. And the more she tried to bluff it, the more slightly insane she got. But no, she was just one of many. But I do work with, like these days, I work with the most amazing people. I really enjoy the people I work with. Bit easier to get into preparing to go for PPE at Oxford. Oh my word. Get you. Wow. It's a bit easier to get into than economics and management, and it involves politics too, which is right up your street. Babom says prefers physics, which is applied maths, I suppose. I like physics, but I don't know why. There's two particular aspects of physics I could never get on with. I couldn't get on with optics, which is really bizarre because I ended up in telecoms where my speciality was actually optical fibre. And all of the equipment involved in that. But I didn't like the theory of optics. I don't know, something about it just didn't catch my interest, and I always found it a chore to do anything to do with optics. And the other thing, rotational dynamics. Oh God, I don't like doing rotational dynamics. Static, anything to do with statics I was fine with. Really enjoyed that sort of aspect of engineering physics, but Newton's forces, love it. I really enjoy it, and I'd studied out for the pure fun of it. Quantum physics fascinates me, but I wouldn't like to do that at a point where I was being tested. I wouldn't have to that's the kind of thing I enjoy for the fun of it, but not something I'd like to do for a job. Changing a job from someone's strengths to their weaknesses tend to do that. Yeah, tense and batshit crazy, indeed. Hoping to get into NATE. What's that, Nate? Don't know what that is, potato. In the fall, and take up every art-related course I can get my sticky fingers on. I think maths is one of those things that you're either good at and it can be honed, or you kind of struggle with and it's hard to get very far. Like art or music, yeah, or English for a dyslexic. Yep, art and music are two things I enjoy. I enjoy experiencing, but I can't do myself. Yeah, I like quantum physics, really. Anything goes when you get down to that level. Oh yeah, definitely. And maths I had an interesting experience with maths in that, well, when I was in primary school, so up until the age of 11, my maths was really, really bad. And then when I went to high school, and we were split by ability, and I was in a class for maths that was so low that they wouldn't have put me in for any qualifications if I'd stayed at that level. Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. Very nice. I wouldn't have been able to go to college, never mind to university, if I'd have stayed at that level of maths. And then when I got to 13, at that point, the curriculum switched, and they introduced trigonometry, and we were allowed to use calculators. And what I discovered was that I am really abysmally poor at mental arithmetic. I can't add two numbers together and get the right number out of it. And I get all the numbers mixed up in my head when I'm trying to add things, or even basic things, like adding 8 to 5. I know if I add 8 to 5, I get 13. I know that from memory because I've made the mistake so many times. But give me two other numbers and... But trigonometry, as soon as we got into algebra, actually was my first introduction to something a bit different. And I enjoyed algebra because it was interesting. It was different. It wasn't just arithmetic. So yeah, arithmetic I was abysmally poor at, but algebra was interesting because it wasn't arithmetic. Trigonometry got my interest a little bit more again, and as soon as we were allowed to use calculators, my maths took off so much better because I didn't have to do arithmetic anymore. I had a calculator to do that for me. I was allowed to use a calculator. Yeah, why you like maths and further maths at A-level? Yeah, as soon as you leave behind a 17 and 4, I get my fingers out to do things like that if I haven't got a calculator to hand. I do, so it's like, okay, so it's 10, and then it's 7 and 4, so I've got 7 fingers on that hand, and then 3 fingers makes 10, so another finger makes 11, so that's 11 plus 10. And 10 and 10 is 20, and another 1 must be 11, and that's the kind of thing that I have to go through. But unless I've got it written down, I forget the numbers. They get muddled up in my head. Oh wait, that was for cell, wasn't it? Maths with cell. Yeah, 17 plus 4 is much harder for me to do in my head without fingers or pens or calculators than something like partial differentiation. Ooh, the further my maths went, and the more in depth I got, the further away you move from arithmetic, the more interesting maths got. And I love how maths draws everything and maps everything and is the language behind everything, and it's just incredibly beautiful. I found maths absolutely fascinating, and there's a formula called Euler's theorem, or is it Euler's formula? One of the two. And I remember the first time I was shown that formula, I was shown the derivation to this particular formula, and oh my god, it was emotional. And that sounds, for anyone who's not into maths, that sounds weird. But game for space engineers, but maths is good too. It's been like this for half an hour. Yeah. Okay, right. We'll get on with. I was supposed to be putting a saucer in so that I can spit the stone. I need to make the ship a little bit wider so that I can do that, which is what I'd started doing here, just putting an extra ring in. We're supposed to be restricting the size of our ships and houses and things so that nothing goes over 1,000 blocks to help with server performance. But then Boris built his rocket clock ship, and somehow that kind of went by the by. There's a lot of maths in animation work. Yeah, it's because I've never done animation myself, but when you're programming the movements of robots and calculating where you want the movements to go to, I imagine that is very similar to how you would calculate it in animation as well. For you, Dunker, the Ackermann function of G64 and G63. Rocket cock. So I said clock. I said rocket clock. It's Boris's rocket clock. Although I did call it a rocket cock because I thought it looked like a shuttlecock. Worked in multiples of 16 so much it's that. I prefer to work with things that don't involve numbers. If we start moving into I's and J's, I'm in a much happier place with maths. I like things like, I say, complex maths, Laplace transforms, partial differentiation was something. Second order partial differentiation is enough to get me turning up for class early. But anyway, enough about our mathematical fetishes. Now, what I've got to make sure of is that if I stick a stone spitter in, I just need to make sure that I don't disable the ship so much that if somebody wants to take it out between me starting and me finishing, let's get rid of this spam. It still needs to be a functional drill ship. So what I might do is just extend the walls a little bit to start with, because that's something I can get going on. And I can do a bit of block placing and welding while I'm talking to you guys. The hexadecimal. I had I used to have a calculator, an old Casio, that just did everything in hexadecimal so easy. I loved it, but I never did any of it in my head because that's just too hard. I'm sure I did start expanding one of the sides, but I suppose if I start here, I could just move. If I was to move that block out there and then the door out, it's going a ways towards it. Just make sure I've got some steel. Yep. Can I pick it up? I certainly can. Let's put those down. Somebody else can disassemble those. Maths without numbers. Try quantum stuff where 1 is 0 and 0 is 1/2. It's 1/2 the time. Yeah. I was fascinated for a while. I was fascinated by string theory and what it was all about, and I wanted to understand it. And I got a book by what's his name? Penrose. Is it Roger Penrose or Robert Penrose? Called The Road to Reality, which fascinating, love it. But it's a bit like Stephen Hawking's when he wrote his book about how the universe works. I'm trying to remember the title of his book. I'd read that as well. The theory of time and gravity. Or does anyone know the name of that Stephen Hawking's book? I remember reading it, but it was a long time ago. And that was like the coffee table version of the Roger Penrose book, or the Penrose book. Right, so I'll put it back in there. We'll just put a square heavy armor block. Didn't he write the Mr. Men books? Oh God, I wish I could remember the name of Stephen Hawking's book. If someone says it, it'll be instantly recognisable. Everybody will know it. That's light armour. I meant heavy armour. A Brief History of Time. That was it. When I remember watching him do an interview about it, and he said that when he'd started writing it, he had written it reasonably in depth, and he was told by his publishers that he must have no maths, that if you put maths in it, then nobody would read it. And so he limited it to, I think it's 2 formulas, one of them being E equals MC squared, which he explains. And possibly another formula that I can't quite remember. Well, Penrose's book is exactly the opposite. It explains the universe using maths and takes you through the formulas that define string theory and explain that uses the maths to explain the theories behind sort of current thinking on the universe. So a years away, we go from Sal's job to politics to universities to maths to physics back to maths, quantum physics and a bit of coding. Yeah, when Mia's away, we do intellectual stuff. Am I not touching the door? Oh, no, I thought I'd managed to weld that down completely then, but I obviously hadn't. Just move the door out. 1. Two to the power 4 equals 4 to the power 2. Sal, the professor of the Nidd group. What am I looking for? I'm actually after my G menu. Doors. Unless I've got it on my toolbar already. Oh, I have. Okay. This is a really hard block these days to see which way round it is. And we're upside down, aren't we? So that means I think I need to go that... No, not that way. It must be page down, I think. No. No. Ah. Okay, so the door is currently on the top. Is that the right way round? No, it's still not the right way round. Okay, that's almost the right way around. Just need to spin it. So page up. There we go. Because I'm working upside down. Did that just rearranged itself, didn't it, when I placed it? So I think it's insert. Yes. I think that's the right way around. We'll soon find out. I would watch Maths with Sal, just need a marker board. All I need is Boris's audiobook accent. Indeed. Oh, don't stream on Twitch. Hello. For those who like maths, there's a book about maths and its connection to The Simpsons. I think it's Simon Singh. Yeah, I've heard of that actually. Like a Rubik's Cube, indeed. Yeah, new format starting next Friday, Maths with Sal. I had no idea how many maths qualifications went into writing The Simpsons. I can put complex equations on notice boards that lead through the game mechanics and into a secret room with a face mixed with a... Is that a beaver? Or a beaver? 7. Hold T, then you won't turn as much... Oh, of course. I think I set it so that the block wasn't supposed to auto-rotate, but maybe it's doing it again. Of course, one thing that sometimes helps is if I rotate me. Right, did we do? Yeah, we did. Let's just see if that's the right way around. Yeah, it is. I like my door to be on the inside so that if I'm running for the ship for any reason, it helps to guide me, and very rare I'm trying to get out of the ship fast, but often I'll be trying to get into the ship quickly. And I actually want that colour for my doors. There we go.
There were 4 of them, all houses, together in Nidd Lane. Together lived Boris and Anubiz. Anubiz was always sorry about something. Next door came Minty and Nordic, and Minty really annoyed Nordic by calling him a beast all the time. And the next house was noisy, 'cause Apple and Melon always had domestics. But it was the 4th house that the police were interested in, because Power Suit Sal kept Mir in the closet. They all lived together in Nidd Lane, a colourful place to be. They all lived together on Nidd Lane, although together is a little bit subjective. At Boris's and Anubiz's, there was a man who could be sometimes mistaken for a hobo smelling of alcohol trying to climb the walls. But it's okay, 'cause it was Anubiz's Canadian cousin, drunk Spider-Man, and a little Santa's helper could be seen going house to house. It appeared when someone got tired of almond, they'd just hand him on to the next surrogate parents. They all lived together in Nidd Lane, a colourful place to be. They all lived together on Nidd Lane, although together is a little bit subjective. It seems they pissed off the neighbours, something to do with the PLP-50 dragon children, but that's just Boris. No one questions him, 'cause that's what happens in Nidd Lane.